So, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us here today. My name's Layla Gold. I'm the Marketing Director here at Confetti Media Group. So, today's International Women's Day, and we've brought together a panel of women from across Confetti Media Group to share with you the benefit of their experience working in the creative industry. So, let's start with some introductions. Alison, if we start with you.
Hi, I'm Alison Whitlock. I'm Head of Student Talent Development here at Confetti. I've had a portfolio career in the creative industries. I did 11 years at the BBC in post-production and production, 6 years in film funding in the East Midlands, and I now manage the student opportunities here at Confetti.
Hello, I'm Kim Weston and I am a Senior Lecturer in Games. I used to work in the film industry many moons ago, and now I course lead on the master's courses here at Confetti.
Hi, I'm Kishelle Dennis-Gale. I am a further education manager here at Confetti. Just like Kim, I used to be in the film and TV industry about BBC 6-7 years ago. Came to Confetti and taught games, and then now working as a further education manager.
Thanks, Cash.
Hello, I'm Jackie. I'm a course leader at Confetti on the content creation course.
Hello, I'm Parisa. I teach in HE here at Confetti. I also run Acoustical, which is a live music business supporting emerging up-and-coming talent. Plus, I'm an artist, singer-songwriter myself.
Hi, my name's Danielle Hoggard. I'm a HE lecturer for TV and film production, and I've been a freelancer since 2009.
Thanks, girls. Thanks for joining us this morning, ladies. So, we're going to start off with a statistic. So, according to the Financial Times, the gender gap in tech is actually closing. So, apparently, there are 37% of people working in creative tech now are women. But that still leaves a lot, doesn't it? That are still men. So, how do you think we can encourage women and girls into this space? What do we need to do? Well, in fact, what does the industry need to do? So, if we start with you.
I think in regards to teaching, making sure our resources are inclusive, making sure that, females out there can do creative technical roles such as production, and just making sure that, there's someone there to support them. Being a female representative as myself, it's always good for them to look up to.
Sure. Parisa?
Yeah, I feel like not being afraid of differences and showing that there can be strengths, compatible kind of skills and beliefs and whatever, rather than saying that this is a male-dominated industry and it's hard for women to enter. Maybe there are attributes that females have that can actually enhance that sector and just amplifying that.
I think it's true, isn't it? It's celebration of women rather than making it, just something you can do if you want to, but making those male roles that maybe we have to fit into. What do you think?
I think representation is always going to be my answer today. I think the more women we have out there in teaching roles, in industry roles, is going to make people want to say, I can do that too. Yeah. I think when I was teaching on a VFX course a few years ago, when I started teaching on it, it was mainly male dominated. By the time I left that course, it was closer to 50-50. So I don't know if that is because there was a female teacher. I think it was, personally.
Yeah. Well, it's bound to have helped, isn't it? It's bound to have helped. Alison?
Coming at this from the Knots TV angle, when I worked at the BBC, one of the jobs I worked with was in post-production and booking editors and basically technical talent to finish TV programmes. And there were still fewer female technicians. They were brilliant. But there were still far fewer of them. And when I started this role and Knots TV was born 10 years ago, I really wanted to encourage the students that could do work experience on Knots TV. I wanted to encourage females, positively encourage females. And that's resulted in a huge talent flow and talent progression of female technicians, into Confetti Media Group and out of Confetti Media Group into broadcast OB roles at companies like Cloudbase and beyond. So it really has worked and I'm super proud of that. So positive role models every time and giving girls a chance.
For sure. Well, I'm really proud to say it's an all-female crew here today as well. So it's not just us here on the panel. Those recording are all female. So we're dead proud of that. So that's fantastic. Okay, Kim, what do you think?
I agree with Alison. I think I'm going to discuss a bit more what Alison said. I think it's encouragement and also confidence as well. I think, I don't want to generalise, but some of our female students might lack the confidence, or they think, oh no, I can't apply for that, I don't know everything. So I think just encouraging more representation and female students whilst they're in education is really important as well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. What do you think, Cash?
For me, I think it's about mentorship. So I think at Confetti, we have a different environment, especially about how we treat our students. We talk about being their mentors and supporting them for their next steps. And I think that's super important. I think having female mentorship, having females on teams like myself, I've got myself and Meg on a ZS team, and having our faces at open day, you see the difference in the students who are coming and having a look at that and thinking, actually, oh my God, these are two females, and that means I can do it. And the numbers, since we've employed female members of staff on the team, especially on my course and IS, female students kind of has risen in the last 3 to 4 years. So we're starting to see more females in the classroom, and then now having females in the position that we're in and mentoring them and saying, you can do it. Having another female around isn't a competition. It's not a competition. Sometimes we realise there's only a small amount of jobs, so we worry about, fighting against the next girl. But if you mentor each other and support each other, then the door's open, and I think that's super important.
I couldn't agree more. So I'm hearing it's about representation, isn't it? And then about supporting females in that arena, whether it's colleagues, whether it's, our students. Coming back to your point, actually, Kim. So we've probably all heard the statistic, haven't we, that men apply for a job when they meet only 60% of the qualifications. But for most women, they will not apply for a job unless they meet 100% of what that particular employer is looking for. So women don't put themselves forward for a role that they may be really qualified for. So why do we think this is? And I'll start with you, Kim.
I don't know why it is, but I'm guilty of it.
So am I.
And I feel like
self-sabotage. Self-sabotage.
I feel like, oh no, there's that one little thing that I don't quite tick, so I'm not going to apply because they're not going to accept me. And I've noticed that with students as well. And I've had to, push and be like, no, you've got this, you've got that, just go for it. Yeah. So I think that stat is really interesting. And it seems like we all do it on this panel.
Anyone else guilty?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, always.
Yeah.
Yes.
I still don't think I'd apply for a job if I didn't hit all of them.
But why is that, girls? Why is that? What is it
says,
about us when we were young and we were socialised, which said, that our brothers and our uncles and our fathers and our sons would be more likely to, but we're not? What is it?
Well, we're probably going to be interviewed by a bunch of men.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? Like, that's the truth. Like, when you think about, who's above you, it's generally, in my team, there's me, Nathan, Matt and Lee. I'm the only female. And then above that, in Confetti, we have to think about who's there as well. So you're generally going to be interviewed by males. So you want to present the best version of yourself. And that's quite intimidating. But I think it's about understanding that it isn't.
That's really interesting, because on a panel of interviews, often there'll be a female HR representative, because HR is really, and sorry, I'm making sweeping generalisations and I haven't any statistics to hand, but it does draw quite a high proportion of females. So the female representative on a panel will be HR. And
Shout out to Frankie and Lorraine.
Yeah. Do we have any male HR?
No,
we don't.
So.
Not at the moment. No, not at the moment. But it's true, isn't it? Yeah. And do we think maybe because HR is perceived to be that kind of softer, there to pick up the pieces, are there to deal with people, rather than, other roles that are male roles are kind of more strategic, more kind of straightforward. I don't know. Is that the reason? Why
I think it's the same in every company, though. I don't know if I've worked anywhere where there's been male HR.
Yeah.
I think as well, women just tend to do the kind of more admin and nice kind of, that's comfortable.
Life admin,
roles.
guys.
Don't get me wrong, I'm sure it's really hard to top.
Maybe interestingly, in TV and film, I think there's still this preconception that the women will be drawn to production and organisational roles, often up to exec producing, etc., showrunners, etc. But there is still that perception that they'll do the organising and the tidying up.
I think, especially with the film and TV industry, if you go on Google Images and look at behind the scenes of film sets, it's all male, usually. Yeah. And there'll be like an odd, there'll be a woman and she's doing costume or makeup.
So it's representation, isn't it? Yeah. So, Parisa, so if we know this exists, guys, and we know ourselves, we've been sat there going, no, actually, I can't apply for that job because I don't know how to do all of it. And, what's that word where you're... Imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome, where you're scared. How do we make sure the next generation don't feel like that?
I'm wondering how much of it is the responsibility of women and how much we have to like ask for our male counterparts to take action themselves, like with them being dominant in the workforce, dominant in society, and seen as maybe having more brains, more strategy, like you're saying. Perhaps the males have to step up and kind of break down some of those barriers. Encourage females. I mean, there's a thing called positive discrimination, isn't there? Where you encourage people from marginalized communities to take up a role actively and kind of break down barriers. So, I mean, personally, I follow the whole thing of equity. Like, you know, we could do equality, but equity is about making sure everyone has an equal chance by moving the post wherever it's needed to be.
It's a really, really fair point, isn't it? Yeah, it's a really fair point. So, I wanted to chat to you about Gen Z, right? So Gen Z have this reputation, don't they, of not wanting to do the work, as maybe some of us who are slightly older. Yeah, but they do. There is this kind of reputation, isn't there, often, of Gen Z just wanting to get their way to the top, not really wanting to do the kind of the background work in there. And they do get a bad rep, don't they, often, Gen Z? Is this fair? Is that a fair thing, that they want to just shortcut their way to success? Is there a balance they should aim to strike between making sure you do those bits at the bottom? Which, I mean, for me, let me give you my experience. I learnt what I've learnt by people older and wiser than me. Yeah? So the danger for me is we have a lot of these young people working from home, behind computers, and they don't get that tacit knowledge that I got from people who are older and wiser than me. Do we think that's an issue?
I think they're smarter in a lot of ways as well. Well, I think there's a danger where when you're new or in your entry-level job, where you just do what you're told, you work too many hours, you get burnt out. There's, you know, crunch in the games industry. And if you're new, which a lot of Gen Z would be, like, oh, I'll just put up with it. And I think Gen Z are less likely to put up with it now. And I think that's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're
Yeah.
more confident. From my experience of teaching, you know, Gen Z, I think it's changed so much over the years. I think they know what they want more now.
Yeah.
They're not going to do the traditional route sometimes to get what they want, like maybe like what you're describing. We always learnt by our older peers. I don't think it really matters to them anymore. They'll go on YouTube and learn something. They take life into their hands a bit more. Might be seen as lazy. I genuinely think it's not. And I think they're challenging the older generations more as well, whether you like it or not sometimes. But no, I rep them actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do think, they used to call them the snowflake generation, right? And don't get me wrong, I feel like there are two different types. There are the go-getters who are going to embrace where they're at and not stick to all the stereotypes, but we do still have the others too.
Yeah.
It's a mixture for me.
Do you think
I rep them.
it starts at like home as well, though? For example, the way you're raised, you know, what your parents do, and how the kind of
Raised by us, right?
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
So it's what it's yeah.
It's our fault then.
Yeah,
okay.
Salmon.
Yeah, but it's more about like how you influence your children and the things that you expect them to be. So some parents are like, I want you to be a doctor, I want you to be a nurse, I want you to be a pharmacist.
Definitely
but
changed.
I think now us as parents, I know with my daughter, like my mum said to me, oh, you're going to do a Mickey Mouse course.
Oh yeah, I had that. I did film.
Literally. And now she walks around to every event like, look at my daughter, she's an FE manager. And I wasn't saying this like 10, 15 years ago when I wanted to do this, but I think it's that perception of us as parents as well, you know, if we've got children to change the narrative as well.
Definitely.
And actually getting them to value money and earning money, because often they don't get jobs as early. I was working from 15, had part-time jobs, and so I was very proud of being financially independent from an early age, but many aren't as much. Again, sweeping generalisations, but yeah, I wonder where the role of the older generations is then. Sorry, just changing the question a bit, because if they're all doing it and learning from YouTube, where do the older generations fit in? Where we respected their knowledge. Yeah. That we learnt
An
in the
interesting
workplace.
one. We had Xander Brown in, sorry to talk about a guy on a girls panel, but you know, someone who came in and a content guy this week, who's got an incredible career with the FA in football and kick game. And he said when he turns up to sets sometimes, the person putting the mic on them can sometimes be like an older, awkward man. Yeah. And he says one of the reasons he thinks he comes across as like really personable and gets these jobs is because he talks to people like they talk, and he films younger footballers and stuff, right? So he kind of said that it's better to be younger and more, he felt a bit awkward sometimes with the older people on set. So just, it doesn't help your point at all. It in fact validates the fact that maybe we're going to be irrelevant soon, guys. No, I'm joking. Yeah,
Well,
they want it to be young, is what I'm trying to say. You know.
one thing I've noticed with people younger than me is they're less likely to work for the mediocre wages that are presented to them, especially if you're like under the age of 21. I think it's like £6 something an hour. It's ridiculous. Like, you know, economic factors, cost of living affects young people as much as it does older. Sure, they might not have a mortgage, but they've still got to eat. They've still got to, you know, and a lot of people do come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds and don't have two working parents or whatever. So I think
That's a really good point, actually. I think in our generation, we were almost taught that you had to be grateful to be offered a job.
We work for free a lot more, right?
We did.
Do we all work for free?
Yeah.
My students now don't want to work for free, and
No, for
I
sure.
always say to them, like, show what you can do, and then charge for it. That's always my advice. So do it for free first, and then. But yeah, we work
I
for
would
free
say
a lot.
why would an employer, potential employer, give you money if they have no trust in you?
Exactly.
So do the work trial.
Yeah, do the
Don't be
volunteer stuff.
exploited.
build a portfolio.
It's just like you said, to be able to portfolio. If you're an artist, you draw and you draw and you keep drawing, and then you show somebody. That's all your free time, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the same in a job. If you want somebody to hire you, you
gotta
build
show
your
what you can do.
portfolio. Maybe that's your character. Maybe that's your personality. It's exactly the same as drawing a piece of art.
Danielle, what do you think? Do we think this whole working for free, etc.? I guess my point is the pandemic. Yeah,
Okay.
lots and lots of our young people spent a lot of time at home behind screens. Do we think they've lost that art of communication? I think every job I've ever got has been from networking.
Yeah, meeting people.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever applied for a job and got it that way. I've always been asked to come and do it because I've built a network. Do we think young people are able to do that?
Yes,
And women in particular?
and no.
Okay.
So I think socially, since COVID, a lot of them have struggled with communication, and I've clocked onto that. So now I will purposely have sessions within my lessons to make sure that they're communicating, doing group work. Could even be pictures, just giving them some more confidence. Because they may have lost out on that, making sure there's a lot of enrichment activities, making sure they're making friends with other people, using cross-course collaboration, just making sure that they're really engaged, because I've seen it where they've missed out on A-levels or even GCSEs, and that's a big chunk of your social.
For most people, it was around 3 years, really, wasn't it?
I'm just seeing the back end of the COVID kids, I call them. So obviously you're in HE,
we're just
so
getting
you're
them.
you're going to get them a little bit later,
Yeah.
but I'm just seeing the back end of them, and whoever else is in FE is seeing the same thing. So this year's cohort are the last lot, so they've had GCSEs now, and the personality and the confidence and the communication skills are so much different to
really?
to the students that have just progressed
Less confident.
less confident, wouldn't speak, wouldn't communicate, would only talk on Teams. But the ones we have now want to talk all the time. They never want to stop talking. So I think COVID has had a massive impact, and we're going to see that legacy
definitely.
for the next few years
we
until
had the
they come
college
out of
ones, I think.
education. So
Yeah, we've definitely seen some COVID kids, should we say, in HE, but different because it wasn't GCSEs, it was A-levels, so they still had their full secondary school experience, which is where I think you are a bit more like, you learn, you're the oldest ones in the building, right? So I hear you. Yeah.
So what can we do then, as educators, for this COVID generation? How can we make sure that they are learning the skills so they walk into that room and they own it? They don't shuffle in and they're too scared to talk to people. What's our duty as educators?
I definitely don't have all the answers, but one recent example is when I was sitting with a group of young women and they're working on a team event, and I suggested something for them to do, and they all automatically went to the most confident one, was like, you do it. And they were like, yeah, you do it. And I was like, no, there's 3 tasks here, take one each, you all do it.
sure.
They went and did it, they come back and they were full of confidence because they knew they could do it. And it's just like completely like, no, you can do it. There's no secret to it. Just keep doing it until you feel more confident. That's all it is. And
Positive reinforcement.
For sure.
And knowing that failure's okay.
Yeah.
You've got to fail to be able to
You
see
have,
where to succeed next.
Yeah, I
So
mean, as you know, I've come back to confetti after 8 years away, and I think there's something about the confetti culture that really helps young people build their confidence.
Yeah, it's the mentoring, isn't it? Cash was saying.
Yeah, we're small classes, aren't we?
Yeah.
With, the tutors and the lecturers and the students who really know each other, and you see people grow in confidence. I think naturally as well, confetti often attracts people who haven't necessarily loved mainstream education.
Yep.
So they've come to us, not necessarily having had a brilliant time, and watching them grow in a confidence is quite amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about about when we had manager of the Sidemen in this week, Jordan.
Yeah.
And talking about Gen Z, the amount of them who actually pitched like business ideas to him after was amazing. Some of them turned up with like slide decks ready to pitch their idea. But
that.
I just realised not one of them were female.
Interesting.
Damn it. Oh, Ria
Interesting.
maybe
Yeah.
one, but I would say if like 15, and there was a lot who just followed him around pitching their business, I think maybe 1 out of 15 was female. So as much
So
as
some
I'm
work
repping
for us to
Gen
do.
Zs,
Yeah.
the women are still
Yeah.
less confident, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so again, this is going back to our generation and the generation afterwards. So I think my generation, I'm ex-zennial, so born in 79. We were the generation who were told you can have it all,
Yeah.
or you should have it all. Yeah, you need to be an amazing wife, an amazing mother, brilliant career. We were told that we should be able to juggle, and for me personally, that meant that I always felt like I was dropping balls.
Yeah.
Do you think we should have it all, or do you think it's okay to choose?
It's okay to choose.
yeah.
Like we were talking about this morning.
We've literally just been talking about this before this
I
session.
think it's kind of impossible to have it all. But I am in like new parent, got a toddler, and the guilt I feel if I have my son at nursery, I'm guilty, at work, thinking, oh, I'm a terrible mother. If I spend, an afternoon with him, I'm like, oh no, wait, I've got work, I need to do this at work. And I think, times have changed, and, I would find it really difficult to have it all without my partner there. And I know there's been a lot online recently saying about how dads have stepped up recently.
Well done, guys. Yeah.
Yeah, well done. But I would find it so hard without my partner. So I think times have changed a bit with this, or you can have it all.
I think I was watching a Leanne Davis session yesterday. I urge you to watch it. It was really inspiring
She was amazing.
for me. Absolutely incredible. So,
Who is Leanne Davis?
she's a filmmaker, ex-stand-up comedian. Really, really suggest that you watch that back if you can, because she's truly inspiring. But she showed a clip of a female out in America receiving an honorary degree who said, for those of you, females who think you can have it all, I'm here to tell you a truth. You can't, because you will always feel like when you're accepting the award, you're not at home bathing your child.
Yeah.
And there's always a compromise to be reached. There's something where aspect of your life where you will be feeling like you're failing.
Yeah, and I think that narrative was probably quite damaging for my generation
Yeah.
because we felt as though we had to, and we were always dropping a ball.
Yeah.
So yeah, but do you think, Cash? Do you think the next generation are going to be different? Because I sense they are.
I hope so, right?
No, for sure. Like, you talk about, when people ask women if, are you going to have kids? When are you going to have kids? And those questions, I think those questions are not happening as often because we're now saying, that's not a priority.
Or it's not your business.
It's not your business.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? I have 2 children and I feel terrible all the time. Like in school, I go to parents' evening and sat there like this, like, sorry, like he hasn't read his books this week, because I'm so busy doing everything else. And I think we have to try and tell the new generation that you don't have to have it all.
Do you think they are though? Have you seen those funny memes about like the millennial manager going around? Oh, it's just kind of funny. Yeah. Skits about I'm a millennial manager. I don't care if you have not come to work on time and that kind of thing. I think with millennials now becoming the next generation of managers, they're happy for you to go and do what you need to do to be able to juggle your work-life balance. Whereas perhaps when some of us were starting out in business, you had to almost pretend you weren't a mum when you were at work.
I feel like that now sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
I want to have it all, and I want to come across as like I know what I'm doing all the time, but I'm dropping balls left, right, and centre. I don't know what day it is half the time because I'm trying to do that. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
I
It's
slept on the washing pile
oh my
yesterday,
God. I'm really good at
Is that
washing, but yeah, I feel like I'm a millennial.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree with you though. I do think we're going to manage people differently because of
Yeah.
what we've been through
For
and what
sure.
we struggle with now. So I do think we're going to be kinder, more thoughtful managers.
Let's
And
hope
that thing
so.
about the kids is so true. Like I went to see I had a tattoo the other week and I spoke to her and I asked her if she was going. I was like, why have I just asked that question?
What do you mean, whether you've got kids?
I was like, oh, you can have kids. She was telling me about a boyfriend. And she was like, oh, no, we're not going to have them. And I was like, oh, my God, that's amazing. And I was like, why am I now celebrating? She's not having them. And I was like, this is such a weird time to be in because it is changing, I think and hope. Yeah.
Parisa?
I always say you can have it all, but not at the same time.
For sure.
But I say that as a woman that doesn't have kids.
I also don't have kids.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I do want them. But when I grew up, it was very much you're going to go to uni, you're going to do something solid. Like I ended up doing literature and film through clearing because I wasn't academically that great. But my parents were like, "You're going to uni, and you're not like they did not want me to have children young. They didn't want that for me.
Yeah.
So, but now I've got over the age of 30, and I'm like, maybe I should have had them. And I think as women, we're constantly questioning ourselves: should I have them? Should I not? Like, when do I have them? Like, blah blah blah.
Crazy pressure, right?
Yeah, there's just like at all times, it's like you're constantly questioning yourself. And I don't know if it's the same for men, but they seem to have
I think
a bit
we
of a
know it's
longer-
not the same.
Really?
Yeah, it can't be. They don't have the clock,
They refer
right?
to, they refer to
Yeah.
men
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
babysitting.
We
you
have
know.
a biological clock at the end of the day.
exactly.
True.
So
Very, very true.
the stakes are different for us, which is
Yeah, they are.
drawing back to equity again, is that we have to reshift society
Yeah.
in order to accommodate women. Because as a millennial manager now, when I run acoustical, like I'm very accommodating to
Yeah.
people. Like, it's okay if you're having a mental health day. It's okay if you need to go look after your children or whatever. Like, we'll cope.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we know, don't we, that the best performing teams are those with lots of different people in them.
Yeah.
Diverse, and
yeah.
exactly, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I'd like to finish off with, and no pressure, guys.
Oh no.
If you, and it's a bit trite, but I think it's actually quite useful. If you had, imagine you were looking back to your 16-year-old self, yeah? What would be the one just sentence or one phrase you would say to kind of build the confidence of that young person? Do you want to go first?
It's a biggie.
It is, yeah, sorry guys.
Can I?
Yeah.
Yes,
May
please.
I? Because
Yes.
I've got one.
Okay.
If you're presented with an opportunity, don't overthink it. Just say yes. Just say yes.
Okay, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. Mic
Say
drop.
yes.
That is good.
Mic drop.
I take that.
How about you?
Yeah, very similar. They just stop caring what people think so much as well. And yeah, just have more confidence with it.
How about
Mine's a
you?
little bit more dark, but no, but you are not defined by your trauma and your childhood and your history, because mine wasn't great, and I'm here. So I think we need to remind people that you're not defined by that, and you
Yeah.
can be who you want to be.
Very good. I'm going to lighten it up a bit. Mine is Layla. Layla, do not have an undercut. It will not suit you. Okay.
Yeah, it is the same. Mine's to say yes, and stop putting barriers in the way of yourself constantly, because that's what everyone else expects you to do. So do that thing you're scared to do.
I'm not sure this is going to be a popular opinion, but for me, I have faith, so I believe in God, and for me, that's my anchor. So I don't care what people think as much anymore, because I care about pleasing the Most High. I don't care about what is for me, and I don't always try to please myself. I just try to do what I think is right for the world, right for everybody, but in a very minuscule step-by-step kind of way, rather than putting too much pressure on myself and just seeing that I am just one person, part of 8 billion people with God knows how many planets and other life forms around us. Do you know what I mean? And it's just just take the pressure off a little bit.
I think mine is to stop being so negative on yourself, wear what you want, do what you want, and just, be free.
Yeah, great note to end on. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Ladies.
You're welcome.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
to our
Thank you,
all-female
everyone.
crew. You've
Thank
been
you.
fantastic.
Thank you, guys.
And happy International Women's Day, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thanks very much.